Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, the second lap's going to be the hot lap, but the first lap is also good. It was almost my hot lap. And also, something weird with the brake bias. I use a 70% brake bias all the way around, but one of my friends, Jack Buser, twitch.tv/xbuser, he has been playing around with moving the brake bias on different parts of the track. So using a lower brake bias for turns 1 and 2, but then using a higher brake bias for 3 and 4 using the in-car adjuster. I just think I would mess up in race if I use that, but there is merit and there's probably a little speed to be had with it. And then also be on the lookout for my Q&A video for 1,000 subs. I'm going to edit that in the next couple days here, so if you have any questions you want to ask for that video, leave them in the comments down below and I'll pick the best ones. As always, please like the video if this helps you out, as that's the #1 way to help me out with these videos, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Alright, let's get right to the lap.
.301. .188.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So this is going to be a very interesting lap here with a lot of things that you aren't used to seeing in an Arca car. So the first is going to be the setup for the lap. So I didn't actually approach this how I usually did. I was trying to make this first lap here my hot lap. But so basically what I'm doing here is the race line, which is you go about halfway up the lane and then turn back down and try to arc it. Now, if you want to do perfectly optimal run up, you want to get your left wheels just on the edge of this curb here and then turn off and then drive pretty much just about straight. That's how you're going to be able to get the most speed coming to your hot lap. So you see here, I don't do that. So going all the way up to the curb here, you're going to lose a ton of time on entry, which is why it's not the race line. So I was trying to do the race line here, but when you're just doing a run up, you want to go all the way up there. And then the biggest thing about this last corner is you want to apex as late as possible, regardless of what line you use. So I'm able to apex about 2/3 of the way through this curb, and it allowed me to get a decent runoff. So we're carrying a bit of momentum to the start-finish line here. Now let's look at our point for turn 1. So I go about halfway in between the 100 and the 150, and I get, you see here, I pretty much slam on the brake. I'm at about 75% right now, and I hold that brake. You just hold the brake, keep it in a straight line all the way up until you get to the 50-meter mark here. So brake in a straight line, and then once you get to the 50, you want to start turning down into the corner. So you want your rights to end up just about on the curb, but the kicker is you don't want your rights to get there at the beginning of the curb. Because if you get there at the beginning of the curb, you're going to slide up the track and you're just going to lose a ton of time. So you want to gradually turn down and get your rights on the curb around a little bit after entry, about like right here. As that's where you want to reach the curb with your rights. So you see there, and I didn't get there at the beginning. You see, I'm still off of the curb. We didn't get there early. We don't get there quite at apex. So we're going to do what's called a diamond here. You might see it at places like Dover, but we're going to do it at a road course style. So we hit about 1/3 of the way through, we clip the curb, or at least get close to it. And you notice we're still on the brake here. We're still at about 25% brake. We're just still slowing down the car. We don't want to slow too much down for entry, or else we're not going to be able to carry any speed all the way through. So we just hold that brake, and then once we hit our diamond, so we hit our diamond right when the curb ends and when the track straightens out here, you see that we're holding the brake, and then we switch to throttle. So we switched to about half throttle. And then I turn the car back down to complete the diamond. You could try to power it off along the outside, but I found that this is not very good for your rear tires, and you probably aren't going to get as good a speed coming off. So I just wait on it a bit and come back down and complete the diamond on the other end of the curb. And then once we reach the end of the curb, we straighten out the wheel. You see that was pretty tight timing right there. Curb, 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 curb. Once we get past the curb, wheel straightens out. And then once we start straightening out the wheel, that's when we can start applying gas. And then once we get the wheel completely straight, doesn't matter where your car is pointed. Once you get the wheel essentially straight, you can go full throttle. And then it gets a little loose, but with good wheel control, we'll just keep full engagement with the rears, and we'll get a decent run on the back straight here. So now we're coming up quickly to the hardest part of the course. So actually, these signs are a little bit deceiving. You see, we got the 50, 100, 150. Well, I brake way before the 150. This is about, that's where I do it. You see, I start getting on the brake right about here. So you see where this white line is? You want to be on the brake before that white line, because these cars do not stop as well as some of the sports cars or other cars that this track was designed for. So hard on the brake, as hard as possible without locking up the wheels. So I ended up being about 3/4 for me. Get down through the gears. Now I experimented getting this all the way into first, and it felt good, but it was inconsistent. A lot of wheel hop, a lot of loose conditions, a lot of missing the corner, and also it wasn't as fast as this is. So let's see what we're doing in second gear here to enter the corner that makes it fast. So the key here is honestly just to cut as much of the course as possible. You think I'm about to cut the course here, get a 1x? Nope. This is completely legal. That's completely legal, and that's completely legal. And so what that translates to is your right side tires are pretty much driving through the dirt about right here. This is kind of the angle you want to take through it. You don't want the center of your car to go beyond the curb, but you want your right sides to cut as much of this as possible, because when you're able to cut that much, you can set up earlier for the next part of the corner and then carry more speed through it. So you see here, we just mega cut that, and then you think, okay, well, we're about to get a 1x here too. No, because our left sides are now cutting around here. And as long as our center of the car is not going past the curb, we're not getting a 1x, we're not getting a slowdown. So left sides pretty much just cut it. And from here, I want to take it as low to the cones as possible and then make another diamond here. So it's almost like 1 and 2, which is kind of, it doesn't look the same, but it's kind of a mini version of it. So we cut the cones almost, we slide up a little bit, and then we turn back down. So I only like to go up about half the track, like I said at the beginning here. And we're just dragging the brake. We're not carrying too much speed through this, or else we're not going to be able to get the car rotated for exit. So I'm just dragging brake, dragging brake, dragging brake. And then once I feel that car start braking to the right, it just gets that snap to the right. It's finally turning. Then we get back on the throttle, try to unengage the wheel, and then try to force some full throttle for hot lap. You can definitely be a lot smoother on this for race, but for hot lap, I was just trying to get everything I could out of it. So a lot of aggressive throttle here. And you can drive it all the way up onto this curb, and you can have a decent run there. So you put all that together and you get a really fast lap time. Not super repeatable for the race. Definitely back up your points a little for the race, but cutting is definitely going to be how you make up time. It's just if you get a couple slowdowns, it just mitigates all of that. So you got to really get a good feel of where your car is on the curb. So we'll go to the race. All right, well, we're back into our usual position, which is second. But I did really well this race, and I literally made one mistake that cost me the race. So we'll watch that, and we'll talk about tire management a little bit. So the first thing I want to look at is, so Jack did really well. He qualified on pole in front of me, but this kind of happens a lot when we're at a brand new place where we'll be not knowing what our braking point is entering turn 1. So I just broke way too late. So you see, my normal braking point is going to be between the 150 and the 100. But on the first lap, I was like, oh, maybe I can push it to between the 100 and the 150. And Jack thought the same, and that's a bad idea. So basically, brake at least at the 100, if not before it, because unfortunately, Jack went bye-bye, and I locked up and barely stayed on. Gave the lead to Mike, who had a really good start. And, you know, we're side-by-side, and I'm like, I don't know how to be side-by-side through the chicane. I'm going to let him go. So I let him go. And, you know, we're just taking our normal line, making sure not to hit him. It's early in the race. Kind of dive to see if I can make something happen, but I give it back to him here. So again, I just wanted to kind of get a feel for the car and take advantage of mistakes, and then sure enough on lap 2, he just sails it just a little too long, and he's going to get a course cut penalty there every time, unfortunately. So we just take the lead from there, and I kind of thought it would be smooth sailing, but we had some competition from Rocco here. He was very consistent. I think I had slightly more raw pace than he did, but his tire management and his consistency was a lot better than mine. So I think my 1 and 2 overall was better than his. I like that diamond that I did there, as opposed to kind of a more normal corner from him. I like diamonding it because you can just take all the momentum down the back. And so notice he gets a lot bigger of an angle in the chicane. Kind of compare our angles here. So I kind of go a little shallower, a little timid. He just full sweeps it into the chicane, and that's going to be worth a lot of time. And he was very consistent with this. Very consistent with that line, which was to his greatest benefit throughout the lap. It kept me on my toes the whole time. I think if he didn't have the mastery of that chicane that he did, I might have been pulling away, and I might have not felt the pressure that I did. So we really just go like this. Lead between half and 1 second for the first bit, and then on lap 12 is where I made the fatal mistake. Was it lap 12? I think it was. No, it was lap 13. Or was it 14? Okay, no, it was on lap 13. I just missed my braking point a little bit too late, and I knew it too. I saw my relative go green, and I'm like, oh, it's over. So I just locked it down, and I went straight pretty much. I said, okay, take the inside lane, and I just let him by. And that's really what you gotta do. There's no use in fighting it at this point. Like, I'm locking up, what am I gonna do here? Just block him and have him wreck me? That's just not what you wanna do. So I literally just parked it, got a slight off track there. I got a lot of off tracks, but no course cuts. And I don't really care about my road license, so we'll take the off tracks, I guess. And so that slide right there really took a lot out of my tires. So for the rest of the race, I was really struggling loose. But even though I was struggling loose, it didn't mean that I was really low on speed. So we can fast forward to like lap 23. And we can see that I'm still using a pretty normal brake point for 1 and 2. I'm still getting a good diamond here. And then my car just really doesn't want to go straight. But it's the last couple laps, so I'm just fighting it. We're dealing with lap traffic. I'm still able to get into the chicane just fine here. I learned from him a little bit. I think that was an off track there. But I get all the way to his bumper. And then it's just the lap gods just did not allow for me to win, so that's okay. If I got a little lucky with lap traffic, I might have gone side by side with him, but at this point, his rear tires were a lot better off than mine, so I was never really going to be able to pass him unless I did some sort of crazy move that most likely would have wrecked him. So honestly, and honestly, it wasn't really ever gonna happen. Here's another off track for you. But I was really trying my hardest, but I kept it close, and Rocco's really, really good at this. He's a 4K road IR too, so very skilled in all road disciplines. So I'm happy with the outcome. We built a 11-second gap to third place, so I was pretty happy with how I drove. It was one mistake between beating a road ringer, so to speak, and getting a close second. So, you know, choking for first again, but overall happy with how I drove, and I think you guys can learn a lot from that. So I hope these tips will help you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope to see you all on the track.